All right, we're going to move on to Unit 6, Line of Best Fit Data Analysis. This is going to be, in our words, it's going to be our LSRL review. Let's begin. So first of all, we're going to modify this lesson. Instead of making scatter plots and eyeballing lines of best fits, drawing and graphing things, we're going to make this lesson a little bit different. Is that okay with you? Now check this out. Instead of coming up with our equations for lines of best fits using our drawing, we're going to use the LSRL. Okay, check this out. What does LSRL stand for again? Least squares, regression, line, right? What is LSRL? It's the perfect lines of best fit. And how do we get the perfect lines of best fit? With a graphing calculator. So without further ado, we're going to skip the graphing portion, okay? If that's okay with you, we're going to skip the graphing portion, and we're going to go straight into input this data into our graphing calculators. Okay, so for number 1, it says, a student who waits a table at a restaurant recorded the cost of meals and the tip left by single diners. Now, what this means is people are buying meals. We'll call that the X, that's the meal cost. And they're leaving a tip, which is Y. We're going to label that as Y. Why should they leave the tip? Well, I think they should be leaving tips a little bit bigger than these ones, but we're going to go ahead and input this into our calculators. Okay, so if you press stat on your calculator, this menu will show up. Okay. Go ahead and press enter to edit, and if you notice, these numbers in my calculator are different than the numbers that I have on my paper. So what I need to do right now is I need to replace these numbers with the ones that are showing in my table. So I could start by clearing my list if I want to. I'll remind you how to clear your list. Otherwise, you could just replace these numbers. If you press or type the numbers and press enter, it will quite literally just replace the number that you had before with these ones. But to keep things simple, I'm going to clear things from my calculator first. And to do that, how do we do that? Go up to L1. That's the list we want to clear. If you go to where it says L1, you can press clear. It doesn't do anything. It'll delete everything that's in that list, but it doesn't do anything unless you press enter. Can you press enter? And you'll notice that it clears the entire list. Now go right to L2. Let's do the same thing. If you didn't catch on yet, you can go and do the same thing for list 2. So list 2, you go right to list 2, go up to where it says L2, and from there we can press clear and enter to delete everything in our list. So now I'm going to go ahead and type these numbers into my graphing calculator. I'll try to do it a little bit slowly for this first example, a little bit faster for the second example. But here we go. So in list 1, we're going to type all our X values. That's going to make things a little bit quicker for us. So type 4.75. If you make a mistake, you can always fix it. Press enter. Type 6.84. Enter. The next meal cost was $12.52. Enter. $20.42. Enter, and 8.97, enter. All right, so far I've only listed L1. Double check that all the numbers are written correctly. Awesome. Now go right to list 2 and type out the tips. And it has to be in the correct order, so 0.5, 50 cents. Next one is 0.9. Enter. 150. Enter. $3. Enter. You can just type the number 3, so you can see it replaces there. And finally, $1 tip. Enter. All right, now we're going to double check again. Make sure that all our numbers are typed correctly. If it is, then we can go ahead and follow these steps. So I'll write down the steps just so we can have it in our notes one more time. If you memorized it already, that is awesome. So we're not only going to find the line of best fit or a line of best fit, we're going to find the best and perfect line. We're going to cross this off and type LSRL. Our calculator is going to give us the perfect line of best fit. So to do this, we need to go press stat. We're going to go write this down. Stat, then go write, and I think the step is going to say, what does it say? Stat, go right to where it says calc. From there, you're going to choose or go down to option 4, which is, I think it says linreg ax plus b. And then from there you have to press enter a couple times. You have to press enter twice. For some calculators you need to press it 4 times. So let's follow those steps. Hopefully you memorize these steps already. But we go to stat, go right to calc, go to option 4. You can press 4 if you want to. It should say linreg. But you have to press enter twice. So this equation actually shows up on my calculator. Let's write that down as an equation. So for this one, doesn't this look familiar? Ax plus b. Kind of looks like mx plus b, right? So we're going to quite literally replace these letters a and b, or m and b, with these decimals. So the way that we expect it usually on the test is 4 decimal places of accuracy. So let's write this equation very carefully with 4 decimal places. All right, the first 4 decimal places is 0.1569. Then we write down x, and then plus b. But since the b is negative, we're going to write down minus 0.2992. That's the equation that we get from our graphing calculator. Okay? Now let's answer some questions. So once we come up with the equation, that's great. You know, we come up with the equation and we get our working equation, the LSRL. But we're going to have to answer a question about that now. So it says, if the diner orders a meal, follow along. If the diner orders a meal costing $10.50. Okay, meal costing $10.50. What's meal cost? Is that X or Y? That's X. Okay, we're going to write that down as X. All right, so for this equation, we're going to replace X with $10.50. If the meal costs $10.50, how much will the tip? How much tip should the waiter expect to receive? So we're going to use this equation that we wrote down earlier. Y equals 0.1569x minus 0.2992. And we're going to replace x with $10.50. So y equals 0.1569. And where x is, I'm going to type $10.50. And I'll have to subtract 0.2992 to get my prediction from my LSRL. So in my calculator, I'm going to go ahead and type exactly what I wrote down, exactly the same in my calculator, 0.1569 times 10.5, or 1050, minus 0.2992. And that will get me my expected tip. So let's round to 2 decimal places. The expected tip is approximately $1 and it says 348, so we're going to round that up to 3.5. $1.35. That will be my prediction. Okay, now we're going to do number 2. Problem number 2. It says for number 2, the table below gives the number of hours spent studying for a science exam and the final exam grade. This is great. This means how much do you study? Oh, it's already labeled for us, X and Y. So for X, it's going to be the number of hours, study hours. We can write down study hours. And for Y, it's going to be your grade. All right, so according to this table, it looks like if we study 2 hours, we may get 77%, 5 hours, 92%, 0 hours is 63%. This might be a little accurate, but this is based on just individual scores. Okay, so let's quickly enter this data into our calculator so we can come up with, no graphing, we're going to come up with the LSRL equation. So let's see if you can do it quicker than me. We're going to press stat for statistics, enter the data. You can clear your list by pressing clear enter, and let's see if you can enter this data quicker. So here we go. Study hours, we're going to press 2, enter, 5, enter. I'll say it quietly so you can do this as well. 0, enter, 4, enter, 2, enter, 3, enter. All right, I already labeled the X in L1. I already entered all the X values in L1. Now I'm going to go right to L2 and enter these ones as well. 77, 92, 70, 63, 90, 75, 84. Double check that you entered these numbers correctly. Did we actually enter these numbers correctly? Let's double check. Okay. So now pressing the stat button, we're going to come up with the LSRL stat. Calc. Option 4, enter, enter. All right, we got this equation. Did your equation show up the same as mine? Y equals, our slope is 6.0887. And our y-intercept, our b says 63.9274. I'm going to carefully write down these numbers, but that is correct. If you got that, nicely done. So now we're going to use this equation to make a prediction just like we're going to do on our test. It says predict the exam grade of a student who studied for 6 hours. All right, so exam grade is going to be Y, but we're already given 6 hours. 6 hours is X, as we can see here. So we're going to go ahead and put 6 into this equation. This time, to make it a little shorter, I'm only going to write the equation and multiply that by 6 in this case. And let's see what numbers we come up with. So in our calculator, 6.0887 times 6 plus 63.992, no, not 97, 9274. All right, and look what it says. The prediction is approximately 100.459. We're going to round this to 2 decimal places. 100.46. And I guess this could be percent. Now, you can ask yourself this question: is it possible to get over 100% on an exam? Sometimes it is, but this is really just a prediction. So maybe you could study for 17 hours. Would you get 200%? Probably not. If you studied for 55 hours, would you get a 375%? I don't think it's possible. So this is just a prediction. So our predicted grade, expected grade, would be 100.46%. And over here, let's just write the answer here as well. The expected tip was $1.35. Okay, now your job is to flip your paper. Once you got this written down, I want you to flip your paper and go ahead and answer those two questions. We're going to check our answers after you try those on your own. Now, if you have any questions, you can of course raise your hand or ask the person next to you. Please ask the person next to you first and check our work. Okay, flip your paper now. I'll pause the video so we can see if we get the same answer. This next question asks you the length and weights of sand sharks. Can you make a prediction based on your LSRL? Okay, use your calculators, press stat, enter your data, and let's see if we get the same answer. I did forget to mention that I would like for you to perform or try number 3 and also number 4. So if you can do number 3 and number 4, then we're going to check our work. All right, so please check your work for problem number 3. Did you get the same answer? Now, the only thing I might have done a little bit different than you is it's not 1428, it's 1429, since you have to round up. So if the number after the 8 is a 5 or greater, then it will become a 9. So that would be slightly different. Well, anyway, did you get an answer of around 170.64? If you did, that's awesome. That would be the correct answer. So the answer would be 170.64. It didn't say what the weight was, if it's pounds or kilograms or something, but we're going to assume that the answer is perhaps pounds. All right, let's check our problem number 4 now. Did you get the same equation for number 4? All right, if you got the answer of, well, check it out. I didn't actually finish this one yet. Can you help me finish this one? This one is a little bit interesting. Why? I didn't use pink this time. I used red. Why did I use red? It says, well, hopefully you got the correct LSRL equation, but it says that man's shoe size is 10.5. So shoe size, you need to be careful about it. Sometimes, and especially on your test, you're going to get one answer that's X and maybe another answer that you have to figure out for Y. This one says what? If a man's shoe size is 10.5, what would be his predicted height? So I plug in 10.5 in for Y because that's his shoe size. So we're going to finish this problem right here. To solve for shoe size, so we're going to get 19.8127 plus 10.5. That happens to be 30.3127 equals 0.4211x. All right, now how do we get x by itself? That's right, we're going to divide by 0.4211. You've done this before. When you divide both sides by 0.4211, you will get your answer. Now let's go ahead and check what that answer would be. Now 30.3127 divided by 0.4211 gives us an answer of approximately, remember it's always approximate, unless it's exact somehow, 71.98. And in this case, we can go ahead and guess that this is probably going to be inches in height. So that will be the correct answer for this one. That was a good practice problem for our test. Remember, it's not always just plugging in x. Sometimes it's going to be plugging in for y. All right, I hope that you found this review to be helpful, and I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. If you have any questions during this time, please ask. And And good luck on your upcoming quiz or test. Have a good one.